Greetings. We're happy to see all of you here tonight. I'd like to welcome you to the candidate forum for the Parkway School District Board of Education. We'd like to thank Parkway Central Middle School for hosting us tonight, and of course the Parkway School District for sponsoring this. Not all districts are willing to do this, you know. So if you see someone from the district, do thank them. Our timer tonight in the front row is Catherine Stenger. Stick up that, well, that's, the yellow means 30 seconds, the red means stop, okay? That's why she's front and center, so board candidates, kind of keep your eye on that, please. Those passing out collection cards around, and when you finish writing a question, just raise your hand, pass it on, whatever, and they'll come and get it, okay? We have Eve Golden, Jane Nettlesheim, and Nancy Price. Angie Dunlap is back at the table or moving around to someplace. Nancy Price is here too, okay? We're all volunteers, we're not professionals, so I hope you'll have patience with us if we hit a snafu too, okay? All of the candidates have received those rule sheets, those are the orange sheets if you see one down there, and agreed to follow them. These are the rules for the forum. The candidates will have 2 minutes for an opening statement. They will have 1 minute to answer each question. They have the right to speak to all questions asked, and they have 2 minutes for a closing statement. Your job is to write good questions. We've gotten about 20 of them so far. And it's to listen carefully to see which three of these, excuse me, are people that you want to be on your Board of Education. Tonight we're going to talk about issues. We're not going to talk about people. Please do not ask personal questions because, well, they won't be asked if you write them down. In addition, questions which are illegible, embarrassing, hostile, personal, or unclear will be set aside. Questions relating to the same topic may be grouped together. No campaign material is allowed in the room. I look around, I don't see any stickers or t-shirts. This is good. Responding to a candidate's statement is not allowed, and it's really for time issues. We want the candidates to speak to as many questions as they can. If we have to pause for something else going on, it just takes time out of their speaking and out of your chance to hear what they have to say. The timekeeper will do the timing for us. My job is to explain this, which I am, read the questions to you. I retain the option to combine questions, and I will ensure that each candidate gets the equal time to speak. If you have something with you, I suggest you please turn down or off your cell phone, your watch, pager, whatever you have that might go off in the middle, okay? The forum will last approximately 90 minutes, depending on your questions. As most of you know, this is being transmitted, I guess we should say, throughout the Parkway District live stream. Folks are also calling in with questions that way, so we're getting questions from both groups, which is really great. All right, in ballot order, the candidates are Robert Gore, Anna Marie Puen, Chris Jacob, Peter Meisinger, is that correct, or Meisinger? Meisinger. Debbie Hopper, Matt Eckerly, Christy Klein Davis. Ms. Davis, do you go by Davis or Klein Davis? Klein Davis, all right. Sophia Ford Glanton, Zach Goldford, Philip Okerling. Say it for me.
It's Oler King.
Oler King.
Good German name.
Got it, okay. And Jeff Todd. For opening statements, we are going to start with Mr. Gore. He will have 1 minute, then we'll be coming this way. And my collector ladies, there are some cards that are finished. 2 minutes. 2 minutes, yes. Okay. Ready? When you start.
Good evening. I'd like to say thank you for everyone coming out tonight. My name is Robert Gore, candidate for the Parkway School Board, and I am here because Parkway has had a proud tradition of turning out exceptional students. I want to help continue that proud tradition, and I want to support the teachers, other staff, and the administration in helping move the district forward and keep Parkway at the forefront of educational quality. Again, thank you all for coming out.
Good evening. I'm Anne Marie Pugin. So when I came here in 1988, the first question everybody asked me is where you went to high school. That was very foreign to me, coming from Washington, D.C., which is very transient. So the whole idea of school loyalty is something that I've embraced with my husband going to West in '79. All of my friends had gone through Parkway schools, and my children now at West. And so when I think about my children getting older and where I want my grandkids to go, I know I want them to go to a Parkway school. And so I decided that I would run. I am an avionics engineer. I currently work for Stroco Aerospace. During the course of my Boeing time, I have taught 5th grade math, 7th grade math, and 5th grade science, both privately and in Ladue School District. I worked as a Parkway employee before my current employment, which I resigned from to run from the board, because you can't be an employee and be on the board at the same time. I think that every candidate up here knows what they're getting into. They know the hours it takes, they know it's a volunteer position, and I think we all believe in the mission and goals of the Parkway School District. So the question then becomes, how do you pick 3 candidates out of 11? All I can tell you is I'm conservative on some issues, I'm moderate on other issues, not quite as liberal as I probably could be according to my kids, but I'll never put you off on an email, I'll never give you the runaround, and if I don't know the answer to your question, I will find out the answer to your question. So, thank you very much for coming.
First, let me say thank you to the League of Women Voters for helping us have this forum tonight. My name is Chris Jacob. I've been a resident of the Parkway School District for the past 28 years. I'm running for the Parkway School Board because I believe in public education. The Parkway Public Education has not only benefited my 3 children, but is also a model for preparing students for their next educational or career experience. I'm running for the Parkway School Board because I believe in the hard work of so many teachers and administrators and community participants that have been the catalyst for Project Parkway, which has also changed the mission and the educational model of our district. And I'm running for the school board because I'm excited about education in Parkway. It's a diverse and rich mix of opportunities for students in virtually all areas of public education, and then some. And it is changing to meet the needs of the 21st century student. Parkway is a wonderful school district. We are blessed with dedicated teachers and great staff, those who keep our buildings and classrooms clean and safe. We have capable administrators, caring parents, and I believe a responsible school board. All these stakeholders together have in large part brought the district to where it stands today, one of the premier school districts in Missouri. We're not without issues or challenges or problems. Schools are aging, some are overcrowded, enrollment is steady, but it could go up and down depending on how development goes. Achievement is high, but we can still improve, especially among some minority groups, and the management of the school district funds is always in everyone's mind. No single board member can resolve these issues or conquer these challenges. It must be a collaborative effort within the board and with all Parkway stakeholders. If elected, I will represent the people of Parkway School District, its students, parents, teachers, taxpayers, and I will be an advocate for our children's education, putting them first in the classroom so they can be ready for their next educational experience.
Thank you.
Work.
Thank you, Chris. Hello, I'm Pete Meisinger. Why am I running? Well, my wife and I have had the privilege of having 2 children in the Parkway School District their entire academic career. One is now in middle school, participating in the Mosaics academic program, excelling wonderfully. The other is in elementary school, also performing well above academic averages, but in need of some special services. And we just want every student, every parent to experience the same level of care, compassion, and help that we've experienced. Now, how do we do that? I can't list that in 2 minutes. I couldn't list that in the next 2 hours, for sure. But a couple things to point out. In my viewpoint, we need to work on continuing to improve and update a curriculum that will help our students succeed in a world that's completely different than what my generation encountered when we moved into the school district. We need to find those teachers, recruit them and retain them so that they can teach in a new environment and new curriculum. And we can never forget that we are stewards of valuable taxpayer money, and we have to use it as efficiently as possible. So what do I bring to this? How can I help? What I'd like to do is focus my academic experience. I have a PhD in physics from Washington University in St. Louis. I earned it primarily as a graduate teaching assistant. And I also maintain a current research program where I am exposed to the most current science and technology, the most current teaching techniques. And then finally, that's not my day job. I am actually a manager at Boeing. I've been a program manager and engineering manager. We are held accountable for managing multi-million-dollar programs, government contracts, and it's all dependent upon leveraging the diversity of a vast community at Boeing. So thank you very much. I really look forward to the opportunity to learn more about you and hopefully have you learn more about me tonight.
Good evening. Thank you to the League of Women Voters for inviting us to participate this evening and for Parkway for hosting this event. I'm Debbie Hopper. It has been my pleasure to be serving on the Parkway School Board for the last 3 years. I have truly enjoyed this experience. One of the reasons why I decided to run for re-election is because I have already expended a tremendous amount of time and energy on training, learning about the district operations and finances, cultivating relationships, and building trust among those I work with. I want to continue on that path of advancement and building on the path of making positive advancements for our students and keeping the district financially and academically strong. However, I feel there is still work to be done. Now, with 3 years of school board experience behind me and staying current with legislative and district matters, I feel well prepared to continue in this leadership position. In addition to being a board member, my husband and I are the proud parents of 2 children in the district. Our son is a freshman at West High, and our daughter is in 3rd grade at Claymont Elementary. I take pride in being able to bring the perspective of families to the discussions that the district and the school board face, whether those are matters on curriculum, the school calendar, financial matters, the superintendent's evaluation, or board policies. Being accessible to our community in this way for their input is very important to me, as we are all directly affected by the decisions that are made. I'm also pleased to be working with an amazing group of teachers in this district, and I'm pleased to have received the endorsement of PNEA this year. I believe this positive collaboration with our school board and administrators for doing what's best for our students is imperative to a strong, viable district like we are. I look forward to sharing more of my thoughts throughout this evening's conversation.
Hi, I'm Matt Eckerly. I want to start by thanking the League for hosting this and thanking everyone who's coming out and watching online. I'm glad you care. My name is Matt Eckerly. I live in Town and Country. I've been in the St. Louis area for about 2.5 years when I relocated from the San Francisco Bay Area with the Climate Corporation, where I'm a software engineering manager. Before that, I worked for several science-based technology startup companies. And I'm an advocate for technology. I mentor at Coder Girl, which is an organization that mentors women in software engineering. I mentor Hour of Code every chance I get. I think the first place I did in St. Louis was Barrett's Elementary right here. I have 3 small kids. The oldest is in kindergarten at Mason Ridge. And I'm also the recipient of an amazing public education. I'd love to tell you all about it, and maybe I'll get a chance later on tonight, but what I can say now is I was exposed to a lot of really interesting technology at a young age in public school, and I can say with a lot of confidence that I wouldn't be an engineer today if I hadn't had that exposure. I'm running because I want every kid at Parkway, including my kids, to have the opportunity to find a path that they're passionate about in public schools. It's not enough to be prepared for the workplace. It's even better if you can be find a path that you're really going to love for the rest of your life. So I hope to join the Board of Education to inform policies that promote STEAM, so kids with any field that speaks to them will find it. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Christy Klein Davis. I grew up outside Chicago in kind of a public school family. So my dad was a math teacher, my mom taught ESL, and my sister, who has Down syndrome, was told when she was in 3rd grade that she would never learn how to read. And my parents didn't believe that. And they went home and they taught her to read, and then they moved her to a mainstream classroom for the next 2 years. And what that taught me in retrospect was that it can make a big difference when schools are set up with the assumption that children can succeed. So what does that look like? First, I think it looks like supporting teachers. I think it looks like competitive pay and benefits. It looks like strong professional development programs and trust for those people who are educating our kids. I think it looks like a competitive curriculum that prepares our kids for today's world. We need both science and technology focus and a strong arts program. We need opportunities for intellectual debate and honing entrepreneurial skills. We need curriculum that resonates with students regardless of their religion or sexual orientation. And we need to expand early childhood education because we know we get the most bang for the buck in early years. I also think we need strong support services to help students navigate issues inside and out of the classroom. We need appropriate resources for kids with learning disorders who simply need to learn in a different format. I think we need to make sure we have a strong relationship with the special school district so our teachers feel supported working with all of their students and our students and their families feel supported as well. We need strategies for managing behaviors in ways that maintain productive classrooms but that don't ostracize children, label them as bad, or passively tell them they're not worth it. And finally, we need to make sure our students feel safe. We need to pay particular attention to LGBT students who too often receive messages that they're less than. And it's time that we address head-on racial disparities and suspensions in academic achievement. So I'm running for school board because I think students matter, academic achievement matters, but I also think that character matters. And I think how we run our schools is indicative of who we want to be and the values that we as a community avow. I think we want to be a school system that assumes all kids can succeed, and we'll push for that.
Thank you. Thank you to the League of Women Voters and Parkway for hosting this. I'd also like to thank all of you who came out tonight showing your support and to hear what the candidates have to offer. My name is Sophia Ford Glanton, and I'm an assistant professor of surgery at St. Louis University. I've experienced every level of education in the Parkway School District. My eldest first attended Central Middle School and now is at Central High. My 5th grader has been in Mason Ridge since the 2nd grade and is getting ready to graduate. And my youngest child is 4. I've participated in the Parents' Teachers program with her since she was 11 months old. With her being only 4, I've got 14 years left, so I'm in this for the long haul. I myself am a proud product of a public education, and I'm committed to maintaining the integrity of this district. As a taxpayer, I'm also committed to ensuring that the district is a good steward of the funds that it receives. Growing up with absolutely no financial security has made me responsible for the finances of my own family and fiscally conservative. I'm grateful for the opportunities that my public education has provided me, as it was my way out of poverty. As for many students, school is their only meal of the day. It can be their only sense of security, and it can be their only safe place. Parkway has proven that it's a good steward of our students and a good partner with the staff. I'm committed to ensuring that we have access to early childhood education, that we work with our teachers, and as one of the PNEA endorsed candidates, I think that shows that I'm committed to working with our teachers. I'm also I'm happy to work with parents and the rest of the school board. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Zach Goldford. I am a product of the Parkway School District from attending preschool through graduating high school in 2011. I'm running for the board because I received a phenomenal education from Parkway, and I want to make sure that current and future students receive that same excellence in education. As a recent student, I can bring a valuable perspective to the Parkway Board of Education. I have firsthand experience being a student during a rapidly changing job market and uncertain times for our economy. I have firsthand experience dealing with the challenges of social media and technology in our learning environments. I believe it is more important than ever to have someone with my experience dealing with those complex issues in a position that affects the lives of so many students. I feel it is my duty to be a voice for these students and make sure they are prepared to face a complex world. While obtaining a Bachelor's of Science in Sociology at UMSL, I studied public policy with an emphasis on inequality and economic opportunity. As a result of that educational experience, I believe we must provide educational services that are efficient, effective, and equitable to all students, educators, and workers in the district. I understand that, as board members, we are the guardians of the taxpayers' money, and I commit to ensure that our taxes are spent wisely and efficiently. We must promote funding for a 21st century education that highlights science, civics, and critical thinking skills. If I'm elected to the board, I promise to be an advocate for all of our students while protecting our collective investment in the Parkway School District. Thank you.
Assume this on. Okay. Hi, my name is Philip Ollerking, and I also want to thank everybody here who came out to hear us discuss the issues facing Parkway and some of the reasons why we're running. I also want to thank the other candidates who are here who are concerned about the future of Parkway, as I am. I am originally from Chicago as well. Maybe we could talk about baseball teams somewhere in the future, but when we moved down here, my wife is originally down from here. And the reputation of Parkway preceded itself. When my wife and I bought our first house, we made sure that our house was in the Parkway school system because of its record of academic excellence and ensuring a good education for our future kids. But I will note that there is 11 of us up here. 9 of which are not incumbents. I think that's because the 9 of us who are not incumbents have some concerns about the direction that Parkway is heading. My own concerns are that I want to remove politics from the classroom. Given the day and age that we live in, I don't think teachers should be indoctrinating our students with conservative ideals or with liberal ideals. I think teachers are there to teach mathematics, they're there to teach social studies and nothing more. I want to make sure that we continue college preparedness. I want to make sure that our kids have the tools to succeed from early childhood all the way up through high school. And I also want to ensure that the taxpayers' money is spent wisely and not on frivolous items. And thank you all for coming out.
Good evening. My name's Jeff Todd. I have lived in Parkway all of my life. And I'm a proud Parkway West graduate from 1987. My wife is a West graduate a year ahead of me. We have 2 kids. One, our daughter is a 20-year-old sophomore at University at Albany in New York, and our son is a junior at West. I know I received an outstanding education. My wife did, all of my friends did, and my kids have. And I saw it firsthand going to colleges to visit with my daughter several years ago, where the people that were giving us this tour talked about this new concept they had called professional learning communities. And we'd been talking about that in Parkway for several years before. So Parkway has always been ahead of the curve, in my opinion, and I would like to keep it that way. I intend to be an open voice on the board. I will be extremely approachable and make myself available to all Parkway residents and be willing and able to listen to all of your concerns and take them to the board and take them to the administration and keep the public informed. I will also make sure that we maintain our financial transparency and transparency with our curriculum. I've heard from numerous parents over the last month since announcing my candidacy that they want more transparency across the board, and I will make sure that we give that to you. Lastly, I want to make sure that we give our students the resources that they need to be successful and give our teachers the resources they need to be successful as teachers. I'm running for the school board because I love Parkway, I believe in Parkway, and
Thank you.
I will do a great job.
All right, this question will go first to Ms. Puhan. It's great questions you're turning in here, lots of topics. All right. What steps should Parkway take to ensure that students from diverse ethnicities or religious groups, including new immigrants, feel welcome and safe? So what steps should Parkway be taking?
Well, one of the steps I think Parkway is doing a very good job of, and that is offering ESL. We have a lot of students that come to this area that English is not their primary language. And I can tell you as a staff member in the district, one of the things I would like to see improved to include families and students more in the education process is sharing that with their family members. I could talk to students a lot better than I could talk to their parents. They would come up to me with pictures of their phone saying, "Are you taking my kid to this school?" And I'd have to shake my head, yes. I think we can do a lot by communication on that for immigrants. I think we need to look at the diversity across the board. It's different in North than it is in South, and the needs are going to be different. I don't know much on the actual values of that and what's happening, but I would like the opportunity to take a look at it.
Thank you. I would say that in Parkway, we always strive to meet kids where they're at and bring them up to whatever level they need to be in order to be successful in Parkway. Whether that's with an IEP or if they have a disability where they have some other need, we want to work with them so they have a successful educational experience. It's our mission to make sure that all students, regardless of where they come from or who they are, what religion, that they are successful as capable, curious, confident, and caring individuals. We want them to be the best citizens they can be when they leave here. Thank you.
So I absolutely concur that a strong ESL program is something we need to promote, no doubt about that. We also need to make sure that we're training our teachers to recognize the individual differences and areas for students to improve, giving them the resources. In fact, at Claymont Elementary, I'm actually watching the teachers come in early to help students recover areas where they'll need to improve in order to compete successfully with the rest of the classes. If we provide an environment that encourages that, recognizes it, rewards it, we can make everyone successful in our school district. Thank you.
Some of the steps that I think that we need to take along with the ESL, which I completely agree with, is we need to make sure that our board policies are non-tolerating of harassment, intimidation, and bullying. We also need to ensure through our character education programs that we understand each other's different cultures. One of the reasons why my husband and I chose Parkway for our students is because of the diversity. We like that idea of having our children be able to learn from other people who have different types of values and ethics or different things that we have been brought up with. So I think just by understanding and having character education programs in place, which we do, and that we have opportunities to talk about and discuss different cultures and different backgrounds is imperative, and that we begin to have those policies in place.
I would echo everything that's been said about ESL, helping kids with disabilities. I think online bullying is something that we need to be very careful about. it happens in the grown-ups too, and we see it every day. So we need to make sure that we're not only holding students accountable, but we're holding staff and parents accountable as well if we need to. One thing we really need to frame this as diversity makes us stronger. Corporate America gets that. It's very hard to go into a workplace and not know that the fact that you can work with people who have different viewpoints and different backgrounds, that's a positive thing. So I think reinforcing that for students is very important, as well as other policies.
Thank you. Again, echo what people said about celebrating differences. I think giving kids the opportunity to talk to each other, teach each other about their backgrounds is also key. And people spoke about looking at curriculum and looking at policies to make sure they don't inadvertently make someone feel left out. I think sometimes we have good intentions, but things are in place that can inadvertently do that. So I think we have to pay attention to that. In terms of ESL and teacher support, as I said, my mom was an ESL teacher, and there are a bunch of Somali refugees being resettled in the Chicago area at the time. And I remember, she was under so much pressure in the classroom to get their test scores to be good. And a lot of these kids had never seen a toilet before. And so I remember my parents would have them over for dinner at our house. And I remember going outside one day to watch and see if they were coming. They were all walking down the street carrying potted plants on their head because my mom had taught them when you go to somebody's house, you bring a gift. So one of the things they were doing was just trying to teach kind of basic skills. At our house, my dad did the dishes and served the food because it wasn't something that they'd seen, men participating in the housework. So I think we need to think about where students are coming from, where they're at, and start there.
Of course, continuing on with a strong ESL program is one step that we can take. From my own experience, I can say that our elementary school, we host an international night. And it's one way for parents to participate and to teach the children and to teach other parents about their cultures. We make poster boards, we bring candy, we wear traditional clothing, we have performances. We invite outside schools. We invited the Mandarin immersion program to come and bring their students and give presentations. We brought in the Irish steppers to come in and present that part of the culture. So one thing that we can do is encourage schools to use their resources, the parents. That's what we're here for. We want our children to be successful. Diversity does make us stronger, and it's important that we teach our children to work together.
Parkway has done a great job of trying to achieve inclusiveness and diversity, and I think we're on the right track, and we just have some work to do. I definitely agree that we need a strong ESL program, but I also think we also have to create a culture of equity, and I actually think that we should make sociology require graduation credit for all students to understand and really value diversity. I would also like to see an expansion of the foreign language department. And I also agree that there should be some enhanced job training in terms of for students and for educators as well, and to make sure that inclusiveness and diversity, especially in these very uncertain times, are still valued, and that the Parkway School District has a good track record for that. So certainly that's what I would look at.
I think there is an easy way to do everything here that everybody else has said, and I think I would, as a board member, what I would like to do is bring in the International Institute, who is already doing all of these things, and is already reaching out to the migrant community, just because the migrant community already knows about the International Institute. It has a great reputation. I'd love to bring in the teachers there to teach our teachers about inclusivity and the difference between assimilation and integration, and how that can affect the academic outcomes of the young students. So I would like to bring in the International Institute to do that.
Phil's got actually a great idea. I've been hiring people through the International Institute back to the mid-90s, and an amazing pool of talented, hardworking individuals. I think doing things like that, not just the International Institute, but there's other organizations in the St. Louis area that could teach us so much. and give us tools to use in our classrooms, in our character education classes that would certainly benefit our students. A lot of the educational differences and the cultural differences that people have across this world, there's so much that we miss out here in St. Louis, here in our little neighborhood, and we're getting bigger, we're expanding our horizon, but I think celebrating those cultural differences and bringing that into the classroom will help broaden our perspective in life.
I have to say everything that everybody has said up here is excellent. I just want to add my daughter had the good fortune of attending Craig Elementary, which, as I understand from the staff up there, is the most culturally diverse grade school in the Parkway area. And they did a fantastic job with the International Day that Ms. Clanton mentioned. The one thing that did strike a chord with me was Ms. Hopper's mention of bullying and harassment, which unfortunately did seem to be present at Craig toward the immigrant community, and we need to take steps to correct that and eliminate that, make the kids know that they're welcome in the Parkway School District, in the community at large, and that bullying, harassment will not be tolerated.
Thank you. Next question will go first to Mr. Jacob. New topic. What should the board's top priority be as you prepare for the 2017-2018 school year? Easy question.
There are so many priorities, but it has to be about kids and what we can do for them to prepare them for the world that they're going to have to be part of. So anything we can do to have our curriculum be more robust, to give them more experiences in real-life experiences like we do with many of our programs today. We have a pretty good group right now, about 300 students that are participating in various things from virtual education to different strands of education, biomedical, bioscience, engineering, programming, even teaching, so they can learn and find out what is going to make them be the best, help them meet what their desires are for their future. So I think that's probably has to be among the top priorities, is to ensure that our students are prepared.
Couldn't agree with that all more. STEM is absolutely a critical part of this, is going to continue to be more critical. Our society and technological change is not slowing down. But I would like to take another perspective on that. I agree the curriculum is the top priority, but how we are implementing it needs to be thought about more carefully. In particular, I am very concerned that we are being forced to focus on performance versus growth and progress. That is something that we have to work within constraints given to us by our legislator, and that's fine, but we also have to understand that there are children with an extraordinary range of talents, and not all of them are going to succeed by taking tests. Let's face it, none of us really succeed in our jobs by taking tests. So we have to figure out how to enable them to grow while working within the constructs given to us in our system. Thank you.
One of the things that Parkway is just starting to talk about is personalized learning initiatives, and I am a very strong advocate of this idea. I feel that we need to stop conforming students into a box and say, okay, you have to fit into this particular way of learning. Everybody learns a different way, and we would really be benefiting our students and hopefully even closing some of these achievement gaps if we started looking at what the needs are of our students and how they learn, and how we can be flexible as a district to be able to modify our learning and our teaching methods to what the needs of our students are. Closing the achievement gaps is another one of that, and I think another way of doing that is also having better collaboration between our gen ed teachers and our SSD teachers. We're seeing some of that being different between schools, particularly in the high school level. Everybody's doing it differently, and that may be a good reason for each of those individual schools, but I think there still needs to be more collaboration there.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm going to take a little different angle. I think the biggest issue for Parkway this coming year is going to be funding. I don't think our state funds are going up. They could go down. If they do, we need to make tough choices about how we deal with that. I personally would push for policy where we don't cut anything. In fact, I think we should be growing our programs, but we probably need to do that in creative ways by partnering with the community, with parents, with industry, to bring in new programs without taking on additional costs, and to increase equity around the school system. You go from school to school, you'll see a lot of differences, and you have to invest money carefully to make sure that you're closing those gaps. Thanks.
I'm going to go back to the curriculum and academic achievement piece, and thinking about how we look at performance, I think is important. Not everyone's going to be a rocket scientist like Pete, and not every child's going to get a 34 on the ACT, but that doesn't mean that they can't be a strong contributing member of society. So how do we make sure the kids are achieving to their full potential? And again, how do we do that while conforming to kind of the standards that are before us that we can't change? But how do we look at kids' success, and how do we help teachers and look at teacher performance in a way that's fair in terms of how kids are growing and learning and achieving?
We need to make sure that we are producing productive citizens who are going to go out and contribute to the communities that they're part of. By doing that, we need to start at the basic level, which is early childhood education. We need to focus some of our resources there so we can expand those programs and make sure that they are available to all parents within this district who want to utilize them. There are some children without early access who don't even know the way that you're supposed to turn a book because their parents may not have time to read to them at night. We need to make sure that we are reaching those children and that they have the building blocks to complete their education, and so that way they're not behind from Jump Street. If we can provide that through the district, we will go a lot further. Thank you.
So I think our top priorities should be expanding mental health and counseling services. One of the reasons why I decided to run was because I was very concerned with what's happening in this country and what's happening in this state. I feel like there's a lot of strain being put on many of our students, especially students from marginalized communities. And I feel like now it's more important than ever that we make sure that they're represented, they're protected, and they're defended. And so I think part of that should be expanding, placing social workers in every school, which I think would cost about $400,000. And I think we've saved a lot of money from Parkway Forward doing a lot of environmental justice stuff. And I think we could reallocate some of those funds to make sure that mental health and counseling services are funded and every student feels accepted in this institution.
So I also believe that we need to focus on early childhood education, and I had a parent ask me when I went out knocking doors about my experience with racial politics, and I had told her about my time volunteering downtown in South City with young African American students who I think ages from 5 to 11 or 12. And through my experience with that, it really reinforced the belief in me that if there is a child that cannot read at an early age and that continues on, it is very hard for them to be successful in the future. And I believe that Parkway should focus on making sure that our kids can read, because that can lead on to making sure that they do well in social sciences and making sure they do well in math. So that way they can go on and become productive citizens in society.
I think our top goal for 2017-2018 school year needs to be the same as it always is, and that's preparing our kids for life. We have the 4 C's in our mission statement, and each one of them is vital to being a successful adult. And this building, these buildings that we teach them in, this is the place that we can prepare them for that. I think test scores are important to pay attention to and make sure that we're increasing those. But I think we also need to prepare kids for options besides college. Any type of post-secondary education or trade school or entering the workforce, I think we need to treat all of those with a little bit more weight than just trying to get that ACT score to make sure that they can get into the Ivy League school.
This would obviously go well beyond the 2017-2018 school year, but I have to agree that we need to make sure that our children are actually learning and not just being able to pass tests. They are stuck inside of a box, and I guarantee children do not fit in a box. Maybe for a short time, they will break out of it. Every child does learn differently. I've seen it in my own household with my 3 kids. I've seen it in other households. We need to make sure that our students are understanding the materials that they're being taught by our educators, and that they actually have a handle on what they're expected to know at the end of the school year, and not just able to put pen to paper or mouse to computer and pass a test, but then they turn back and say, I really don't understand it. That's doing a disservice to them. It's doing a disservice to Parkway.
So I think what's really important for us is to actually live out putting students first. And I don't think Parkway in all circumstances have done a very good job of that. When we measure statistics based on how many kids graduate from a 4-year college or how many kids go on to college, in 2016, only 32% of the workforce, people entering the workforce for the very first time, were college graduates. That's 68% of the workforce. That's a trade skill or something else. Yet my children were meant to feel that if you don't go to college, you're not going to amount to much. Also, I think one of the things that I look at is like teaching the skills of, in financial services, my kids were taught how to do mortgages and buy and sell stocks. I don't know many 17-year-olds that buy and sell stocks, but they weren't taught how to fill out a college application or how to fill out an application for an apartment or change a tire on a car. If we want them to be productive citizens, we need to think about the real world.
Next question goes first to Mr. Meisinger. All right. Completely, well, not completely different. Close. This is from the students' point of view, sort of. What are the most pressing problems, issues facing students in the Parkway area? What do you see as their issues?
Wow. And only a minute to answer. Awesome. So I'm going to reflect on my 9-year-old's chief complaint. We tend to become so focused on performance, on learning, on achievement, that we forget that children of that age, and even into middle school, need downtime. They actually need to be active. 15-minute lunches followed by 10 minutes on the playground followed by classes does not give them the ability to recharge their batteries. Unlike people my age who actually rest, they recharge by being active. So I'm going to speak for the 9-year-olds. There's a whole plethora of other issues we could go on, but I would love the younger kids to have a little bit more time to be kids.
I would agree with that. I think one of our biggest pressures is we're putting so much pressure on our kids to be high achievers and to perform, and it's stressing them out. And I think that's the reason why you think we need more social workers and mental health, because I think we're putting too much too soon on our students, and they're not allowed to be kids. That said, I think that one of the other concerns of students is the ability to fit in. They so much are going through peer pressure. Social media does not help matters, and we need to help them to learn how to be responsible individuals with treating each other respectfully and being accepting of one another as well. And I think that, just all that pressure on them, and then helping them to learn how to manage that pressure. You're going to have that pressure when you get out of school. So how are we going to help you with those life skill tools to be able to live under pressure, because that will occur in life.
Thank you.
I'm going to go back to the online bullying. I think that it's a serious problem, not just online, but in person. This is a problem that has really been part of our country forever. St. Louis is no stranger to these kinds of problems. We need to make sure that all kids feel welcome at school every day, and that we have policies that reinforce that. And not just from other kids. There's training teachers for character education, and making sure that parents are conducting themselves in a way that is teaching their kids to be welcoming of other kids, and reinforcing that through policies. We all are here together, living together, and we're all going to be working together here on our problems for the rest of our lives. It starts in school, and our kids are the future.
I'm going to go bullying too. I think the online thing is big, and I think kids are just, you're trying to figure out who you are. And so you start to look at people who are different than you, and you start to put them into categories. And I think we have to pay really close attention to that. The CDC released a study earlier, at the end of last year actually, looking at suicide rates amongst LGBT students, and it was horrifying. And I think a lot of that's because of what they face both in schools and in online communities. And I think we really need to pay attention to that, because it should be terrifying to all of us who are parents. I also agree with what Matt said, that I think sometimes the adults in the room can be as guilty of the bullying as the kids. So, and I think sometimes that's through policy, and I think sometimes that's through our expectations, and I think that's sometimes from us just getting ahead of ourselves and not reflecting on the values that we want our kids to have. So I think we really need to pay attention to that.
There are numerous issues. One is that elementary school children definitely need more physical activity built into their day. There's a lack of resources or inequality of resources throughout the different school districts. Bullying is a big one, but I think from a personal perspective, I see stress as a really huge deal. These kids are overbooked. They're worried about their work. I just came back from spring break with my 3 kids, and my oldest came back on Sunday and found out she had homework that was assigned. She didn't know about it, and she was completely stressed out up until midnight trying to get this homework done so she could go to school on Monday morning. I'm going to have a talk with that teacher, but that's beside the point. The simple fact is that our children need the resources and the tools to be resilient and to deal with that stress. And it's not just the school's job to prepare them for that, it's parents' job as well. And as a parent who would be on the board, I think I can offer that perspective and help shape those policies so that way they work for both the school, the district, parents, and students.
I think one of the most pressing issues for students, in addition to social media and technology and online bullying, I think, certainly when I was a student, there were times where I kind of felt devalued. This rampant obsession with achievement based on test scores and based on, a lot of standardized testing, it had a negative impact on me. And I feel like a lot of students today, they get stressed out about it. There's a lot of academic stress, and it puts a lot of pressure on them, this pressure to succeed. And I think we need to do our job and reduce the amount of achievement scores that exists in the Parkway School District, because we have to make sure that we are actively saying that they are valued, that they matter, and that every student, regardless of anything, they're accepted in this institution. And it's okay to question your identity. It's okay to question who you are. Like, we need to be saying that actively.
Given the stress that's going on in the district, I think one of the things that the kids need to learn is to say, I don't know. And speaking as someone who as a kid who was afraid to say, I don't know, it really affected my education when I was younger. I think education can really take off in students of all ages once they can admit to themselves and to teachers and to their peers and say, I don't know, can somebody help me with this? And I think if students can work together, and if they can work together with teachers, then true learning can really begin.
I think we have several things that kids today face. I think one of them is lack of downtime. I know my kids have had homework over winter break. They've had homework over the summer. Sophia's kids had homework over spring break. I think downtime is important for the kids. Getting out and doing something other than school is important. I think we have a drug problem. I don't think anybody's denying that. If you want to learn about heroin, there's a great forum tomorrow night. I went to the one last year. It was very eye-opening, so I'd encourage you to go to that. And I think, like a lot of people have said, bullying, I think, is probably one of the biggest things, whether it's online or in person in the classroom, between parents. It happens. It's almost inescapable, but I think we have some good character education programs in place. And I think the earlier we start with that, the better. And hopefully we can learn how to get along.
Thank you.
I hear a lot of talk about the online bullying, and not about to minimize that. It is a serious issue. I do believe we have more of a problem than is always recognized within the schools themselves, and I can speak to that a little bit, as we've had an issue with a couple of boys up the street from us, used to be friends with my daughter, and they had falling out. This falling out is translated into the school environment. One of them is in the high school with my daughter. The one will be coming back up into the high school next year, and I'm honestly concerned. And we're not the only ones. There have been other run-ins between these boys and other kids in the neighborhood. I don't know if it is that the school isn't seeing it, if they're smart enough to hide it, but I think there's more going on inside of the schools as far as face-to-face bullying than we know about, and we really need to put a clamp on it.
So in preparing for this, I had the opportunity to sit down with 42 Parkway students, multiple levels, elementary, middle, and high school, in January. And I asked them, my number one question is, what's important to you? I said, is it bullying? They go, no. I said, is it drugs? They said, well, that could be. That is a problem. But they said their biggest issue is nobody listens to us. Our counselors spend so much time in meetings and scheduling, they don't have any time to counsel us. We cannot find a trusted adult to go to that has time for us. So we have students sitting in bathrooms eating their lunch because they're afraid to go out into the lunchroom or find another adult. And I think the question was, what is the student perspective? And that is, Parkway is not listening to them, and we need to do a better job of that.
No doubt there are many pressures that our kids feel. As we began the 2016-17 school year, I don't know where we found it, but we put a blackboard out in front of Southwest Middle with the word up there, hope, and asked the kids to write on that blackboard what was their hope as they started school that year. It was very touching. That video's out there on the website, so if you want to look at it, it'll bring tears to your eyes. But just the things that they hope for, the little things like I hope I find a friend, I hope I do well, I hope I am accepted. It was just very eye-opening to see what the kids are feeling in the middle school, and I think that's translated into some of the other schools too. We have a lot of Hall of Famers in Parkway that are great and successful, but often some of the really successful ones were ones that weren't stellar students, but they ended up being successful in life. The most important thing that a kid can feel that will help him be a success is, how do you feel about yourself? And if they feel good about themselves, they'll do well.
Thank you. Okay. New topic. We have time for 2 more questions. Moving right along. And this we've gotten several, well, a bunch on. I'm sorry. Ms. Hopper, this is yours. What steps do you propose to address racial disparities in school suspensions in our district, including the suspensions grades K through 3?
First of all, I think that we need to have, as I had mentioned earlier, strong board policies that do not tolerate that we have any discrimination to begin with, period. I think that we need to get a handle on what are some of the misconduct issues that are taking place. That said, we have a responsibility to keep our school buildings and our teachers and our students safe. If there are extraordinary circumstances why these students are acting out, and if there are certain things that they are doing, by all means, they need to be suspended, whether they are white, black, or otherwise. We have to keep our buildings safe, but we also need to get to the underlying reason as to why is this behavior occurring. And so I would hope that we would not be discriminating in the first place for these young students, but understanding and trying to get a handle on the behavior.
Okay, I'm a data nerd, so the first thing I would want to do is establish metrics and make them public and make them published on a regular basis for review so that everybody's seeing what our policies are doing. Are we improving or are we not? I've been told that Parkway has data to show that character education is improving the suspension problem. I haven't seen it yet, but if it's there, it should be public, and we should all be able to see it all the time. One other thing I would add is I don't think that out-of-school suspensions are productive. You can't argue that that is good for any student. I hear that they're necessary. I hear that they're necessary kindergarten through 3rd grade because teachers don't have an alternative. They don't have in-school suspension or some other way. So the first policy change I would push for after establishing metrics would be some new tool. Thank you.
Thank you.
I think I really appreciate what Matt just said. I think we need to eliminate K through 3 suspensions. Just eliminate them. But I don't think we can put that on teachers. I don't think that's fair. I think that we need to make sure we have the supports in the school to help kids succeed and to find out what's going on. In terms of the data, if we look at it, we know that there are disparities in suspension rates. It's pretty undisputed. And I don't think that's because anybody's purposely acting out. I don't think anybody's purposely trying to do that, but it's there. So I think we need to invest in some training. I think we need to do some unconscious bias and racial equity training across the board. That's an investment of resources, but I think it matters. I think we need to do it. And again, we really need to look at when and why is this happening disproportionately, accept that it is, and really go from there.
No one board member can do anything, so I would work with my fellow board members and the staff to develop policies that would try to eliminate racial bias. And also I would work with the board members and staff to see if we could do something aside from early education suspension, such as an in-school suspension or an alternative program. The district has already done good work with their restorative justice program. We just need to expand on that further. as one of the few people here I know who has a medical degree, I know that there is bias. Everybody has a certain bias, whether you're biased against old people, young people, fat people, skinny people. It exists. The very first step is recognizing what your biases are, so that way you can actively combat them. If you don't admit that you have a bias, you'll never be able to recognize it and work against it, so that way we can do the best for our students. Thank you.
Well, I would like to see the elimination of out-of-school suspensions, just all of it, because it clearly, the data has shown that it disproportionately affects our African American and our Hispanic youth. And I don't think it's a constructive way to deal with problems. I think we need to replace it with more rehabilitative counseling services. There are a lot of programs that are being put into place around the country that we should look at. And I was fortunate enough to attend a Diversity in Action training team meeting on this campaign, and they are doing some incredible work at achieving inclusiveness and diversity and equity in the school district. So I think as part of the being on the board, we need to give that group the full amount of support that we can, and make sure that we are really solving racial justice issues, and we are making sure that this institution is a beacon for equity and justice.
So I would also agree with Zach. I do believe that only in the most extreme cases should someone have an out-of-school suspension. I would also, one of the steps that I would like to take is the hiring of more counselors. Kids don't act out just because, and I think you need to be able to sit down with each individual student who is done whatever they've done to deserve whatever they are in the room for, and have a conversation with them and ask them, like, look, how's your home life going? How's your academic life going? And then talk about that, and, you know, why did this happen? Why did you do what you did? And try to understand what they were saying. Just like Anne Marie said, adults, staff members, counselors need to be able to sit down with students and just listen to them and be able to understand why they are doing what they're doing.
A lot of great ideas. Certainly there should be no disparities in suspensions between races. There are lots of data to support that we are doing what we can, but I know we can do more. The character development is a key factor, and I think we need to emphasize that more. Early childhood education, and come up with types of solutions versus bringing kids out of class. There's very few reasons that a kid should be out of class, especially in K through 3, but really all the way through. Parkway does have some facilities and some programs in place to handle some of that as kids get older, but it's crucial at those early years. So I'd fully support developing the character education and restorative justice programs in the early childhood education.
Well, first, there is, or there should not be, any room for racial disparity in handing out out-of-school suspensions or in anything that the school district does, period. Race should not be a factor. Religion should not be a factor. Sex, whichever defining boundary you want to put in there, should not be a factor. As far as out-of-school suspensions, I do agree with the previous speakers that we need to expand on I'm sorry, I'm losing train of thought here. We do need to expand on the counselors' abilities to help these students. Unfortunately, I don't know if we would ever be able to reach a point where out-of-school suspensions are eliminated, even in the K through 3. It is an admirable goal, but I have seen, again, in the grade school system, my daughter was there, a student was suspended for making very credible threats.
So I'm going to give you something very specific we can do, and that is the root cause of these disparities. If you look at the disciplinary policies within Parkway, almost every clause says, at the discrimination of the school principal. What happens with one principal might not be the decision for another principal. And getting rid of those discretionary decisions would get rid of some bias and would give us a way to actually be more equitable. I can give you an example. In the 3rd grade, my daughter was stabbed with a pair of scissors. And we were told, we're not going to suspend that student because they have a bad home life. Now, on the receiving end, I was kind of upset about that. On the other hand, I saw a kindergarten student suspended, and I'm like, if that's the best you can do for a 5-year-old, you're not a very good educator, if that's your only answer. So from a district, we do need to provide alternatives to just a flat-out suspension. But I think as a board, we need to get rid of the discretionary decisions that are different.
Thank you.
One of the things we agonize over most as board members is when we're called to look at a student's academics, or not his academics, but his behavior, his or her behavior, and have to make a decision that might take them out of the school system or a suspension. I think it's pretty rare that it happens. I'm not aware of any out-of-school suspensions in the lower grades, certainly K through 3. And so the statistics may also show that some of those are the same student that over and over again needs a timeout. We do timeouts at home, and sometimes we need a timeout at school. And that's not a tool that I would want to take away from administrators. It is an extreme, but sometimes we need that. We work to the nth degree with the student and their parents to make sure that we can help them with their behaviors, and we're meeting more and more of these kind of behaviors in school every day. But I just think, we'll continue to try to do a better job, but we don't like to suspend, but it is a tool that the administrators need to have available to them.
Okay.
So, heard lots of good ideas, lots of good thoughts. I'd like to reflect back on the collection of metrics. I think the data is clear. I think there's a lot of data that has been collected. But I think, and I've heard echoes of this in several responses, we need to drive one layer deeper when we're collecting that data. We need to be identifying the root causes. We need to be bringing in experts who sit outside of the district and can look with a more objective eye and say, here are some of your root causes, here are some potential intervention methods, and make sure that we are listening outside of the individual bubble we tend to sit in within a particular spot, community, job.
Thank you very much. If we're lucky, we'll get finished on time if we stop now. So, while you're preparing your closing statements, I have a good 25 topics left. But since it's going to take us 22 minutes and we have 14 left, we have to move on, okay? You have about 30 seconds to get ready. That will start with Mr. Todd in just a second. A little plug for the League of Women Voters. We are a volunteer group. We operate solely on donations, membership. We would love to have you join. We would love to have you support us. There's information about what we do at the back table. For the election coming up, the website vote411.org is up and running. All the candidates for April, over 1,000 of them. Also the propositions, if you don't know, those of us who live in the county are voting on Proposition S, increasing our sales tax. Okay? You need to look these things up. Vote411.org. Okay. You have 2 minutes, and you'll go next. Mr. Todd.
Thank you. I just want to thank the League of Women Voters for inviting us tonight, for Parkway for hosting. Thank you to my fellow candidates who have done an excellent job at expressing their opinions and their desires to move Parkway forward. As I said before, I've lived in Parkway all my life. I went to Parkway schools all the way through, as have my kids. I've had the pleasure of being a Parkway volunteer for about the last 15 years. I've been a PTO leader, I've been a room parent, I've worn just about every hat that I could wear along the way, and I'd like to be on the board because I feel it's a next great step to continue my volunteer service in Parkway. I've had a lot of great experiences. I've met a lot of great people. I've had the pleasure of serving on several district committees. I was in the Prop S campaign, raising money, helping raise money for the district. I served on the listening tour a couple of years ago where I got to visit probably a dozen different schools and listen to hundreds of voices, kids, parents, teachers, administrative staff, support staff, and I learned an awful lot just in that exercise. It probably took a month. But I believe all those experiences have prepared me with a very unique vision. One of a student, one of a parent, one of a volunteer, all over many, many years. And I look forward to serving the Parkway community. I look forward to being open with the community and being a voice for each of you here on the board and with our administration. Thank you.
Well, thank you, everybody who is here tonight and everybody who's watching online to hear us speak about our thoughts and where we want to take Parkway and where we think it is right now. You know, one of the great things about living in America is that each and every one of us has the ability to direct policy through the act of voting. And in this election, we get to decide whether or not we want to keep Parkway on the same course or whether or not we want to make some changes and move forward. As we've been knocking on hundreds of doors, myself and our team, there are two things that are very prevalent at every door we knock. First and foremost is that every door we knock on, everybody loves Parkway. Everybody loves the academic side of it, making sure that their kids are doing well, and their kids are doing well, and they, of course, love the sports as well. But the other part of it is that they are concerned about the future of Parkway. They've been hearing some disturbing things that have been going on in the classroom and out of the classroom. And it seems to me that if you want to change the direction of Parkway, then I would ask for your vote on April 4th. Thank you.
Thank you to the League of Women Voters for sponsoring this forum. Thank you to my fellow candidates for attending this important discussion on the state of the Parkway School District. As voters in this race, you have to make a decision on April 4th that will impact the future of our students, the future of our district, and the future of our local community. If you believe in efficient and effective services, equity for all students, and empathy in the curriculum, then I ask you for your support on April 4th. As the most recent product of the Parkway School District, I offer a unique understanding of the experience of a student in today's complex world. I believe it is within those qualities that it's valuable to have someone with my perspective on the school board. I understand the role and expectations of a student, and I know I can be a resource for those in the district that may be struggling trying to understand the impact of this digital world that we, and especially our students, deal with every day. As taxpayers, you are paying for an institution that prepares our students for the world. It is in your best financial interest to make sure students receive fair treatment within these services. I'm running because we must protect and defend our collective investment in the Parkway School District. If I'm elected to the board, I will advocate financial support for mental health professionals placed in our schools. I will promote funding for the fine arts, social sciences, and humanities. I will endorse a curriculum that highlights science, civics, and critical thinking skills. I will make sure that students are well prepared for today's complex world. Not only will I be fiscally responsible, but I will also represent the best interests of our students. I appreciate your vote on April 4th. If you have any questions for me, you can call my cell. My phone number is 314-277-3113. Thanks.
I asked my 10th grade English teacher if he would recommend me for honors English for my junior year, and he told me no. He didn't think I was ready. I went ahead without his approval and got myself into the class because I was able to advocate for myself. I was resilient enough to do that, and I was one of only 2 African American children in the honors English class. I want to make sure that we work with the board and with the staff to create policies so no children have to experience what I did. We want to increase the amount of students who are able to take AP and advanced classes. We want to increase the number of children who are successful when they graduate, whether they choose to go to college, trade school, or enter the workforce. We want to make sure that we have policies that support that. The school board is nonpartisan, and all children deserve the right to an education that is free from political and religious bias. This is not a political stepping stone for me. I have no political aspirations beyond this board. I only want to serve the children of this community and in this district, and I want to make sure that Parkway remains a good partner with the community that it serves. Thank you.
I'll close by just saying I'm a person of principle. I think I live my values both in my family, in my work, and hopefully in this as a volunteer contribution. My kids are 3.5 and 1. And so we're in it for the long haul as well. And I hope when they're grown up that I can say they're successful, that they're happy, and that they're kind. And I hope that Parkway gives them that foundation. For work, I lead strategic planning and evaluation for the region's largest philanthropic group. We put about $65 million out a year in health and well-being for underserved communities and people. And so every day I have to make decisions about where should we put those resources across Missouri, and are we doing enough? And so I think that, that also speaks to the values I bring to this role. And to this role, I'll go to the mat for kids who are struggling. I saw my sister being told that she wasn't good enough by adults, that she would never be successful. And it breaks my heart that that could happen to any number of kids. And I'll do my best to make sure that it doesn't.
Again, thanks to the league, thanks for everyone here, the candidates. I'm here because I have kids. I care about my kids' education. I care about your kids' education. I had an amazing public education, and it turned me into an engineer. Technology is what spoke to me. Technology is not going to speak to every kid. That's what STEAM is all about. STEAM is all about putting kids together to work on projects where they can all find their place. And there's science, there's technology, there's art, there's math, there's a lot more than that. There's a whole lot of cooperation. I've heard a lot of candidates voicing concerns about problems, including myself, about giving kids the freedom to be kids, keeping kids engaged without burnout, getting kids to work together in a positive way, getting kids and teachers to work together in a positive way, getting kids to respect each other, celebrating diversity, and discovering identity. Project-based work helps all of this. It's not the solution. It's not it doesn't fix everything, but it helps all of this. And as adults, raising our kids and experiencing the workplace, we all know the difference between that and sitting in a classroom. It's a lot more rewarding. So I hope you'll consider voting for me as an advocate, as a strong advocate for STEAM and for our kids. Thank you.
I'd like to thank my fellow board candidates here this evening. I think the one common theme we all have is that we have a passion for this district, and we want to see it be successful, and we care about these students. Here's the points I'd like to leave you with tonight. First, I will uphold my promise to ensure fiscal responsibility so that we continue to be a financially stable district and maintain our AAA rating. We must be able to keep salary structures competitive and offer our students the most up-to-date resources and technology available. Second, this district serves over 17,000 students, and each one is entitled to a quality education that prepares them for their future. I believe we need to stop conforming students to uniform ways of learning. Instead, be a school system that's flexible to meet the individual learning and social needs and interests of each student. I'll continue to be an advocate in that area to make sure that achievement gaps are closed and every child is successful and fulfilled in our district. Our SPARK program and early childhood good education are great starts. Next, we must ensure that all areas of instruction are conducive to learning and teaching, meaning our classrooms are well equipped, comfortable, our school buildings are safe and secure, not only from active criminals, but also free from bullying, harassment, and intimidation. Our students and employees need to be focused on learning and teaching. Finally, you have my personal commitment to excellence and doing what's right for all students. I will continue to ask tough questions, challenge district administrators, and work collaboratively with my fellow board members to be a collective decision-making body. Working at Washington University for the last 17 years, I have developed a passion for being in a vibrant and diverse culture. This, along with my school board experience and having children in district schools right now, prepare me quite well to continue serving in this district. I would be honored to be reelected and get your vote on April 4th. Thank you.
So I'd like to thank everyone in the audience and everyone on the video stream for investing their time. It's valuable. The fact that you're here caring about the success of our students speaks volumes in itself. Again, thanks to the League of Women Voters and the Parkway staff who make this event possible. And again, a big recognition to everyone up here. Every candidate here clearly is passionate about the success of the school district and the success of our students. What more can you ask? I do ask for your vote on April 4th. I'd really like an opportunity to bring my skills and experience to bear. I can't guarantee an answer to every question that's going to make everyone in this diverse district happy, but I will do my very best to separate my beliefs from the facts and from the needs of the community as a whole. You know, when, not if, when we make every student from the most gifted to those with special needs successful meeting the Parkway mission statement to be curious, confident, capable learners with a lifelong passion for learning, our community benefits, our country will be better. What a great calling. Again, I'd very much like the opportunity to help make that possible. Thank you.
You've been patient and understanding and even kind. You have many good candidates to choose from to fill the open board seats. I'm here because I have 17,569 kids that I care about. I believe one of the great issues before us is the challenge that every teacher faces today: prepare children to be problem solvers in tomorrow's world. No one doubts that their lives will be vastly different than ours. They'll live in a world that's even more closely intertwined than ours. For them to be successful and at times even survive, they will need the mental tools to be flexible, adaptable, and constant learners. Parkway can prepare them for this future. Our administrators are planning for it. Our teachers are capable of providing it. Our parents and community want it, and the future demands it. Our Parkway schools can provide a safe environment where our children have the opportunity for achievement. I pledge my interest and energy to listen, to learn, to help continue the process that helps your school board and our many schools to be effective. I will be an advocate for policies that will help our schools providing for the best and most flexible education we can to prepare our children for tomorrow. Thank you very much.
Thank you all for being here tonight, the League of Women Voters, the Parkway School District. I will tell you that, make no mistake, any school district is a business, and it has to run fiscally responsible, but no business can operate if they do not listen to their consumers. I want to listen to the students. I want to hear. They don't want students to be passed along from grade to grade without being able to read, because it's emotionally going to put them behind if they stay a year behind. They want to know the decisions that are made in one school are going to be consistent to another school, whether it's funding or whether it's discipline. They want to know that it's equal throughout the district. They also want to know that the decisions that are made over here in the administrative building flow down to them through their principals, through their adults in their community, in their school community. They want to know what's going on. We can sit here in a room and have all of these ideas, but unless we're listening to our consumers, we're going to be making some mistakes. I think they want to be prepared for today's environment, which definitely is not the environment I grew up in as a teenager. So it's learning for me too. And I have to be willing and open to do that. I got to listen to the parents. I got to listen to the people in the district that know more about the education process than I do. I have to listen to the people that are budgeting. And I have to listen to these students. And then as board members, we have to try and balance it all. And so I hope I have the opportunity to do that. Thank you.
I would like to thank the League of Women Voters and the Parkway District for putting this on tonight, allowing us all to be here, and also my fellow candidates. Everyone has a lot of good ideas. No one single issue, I think, takes precedence over the others, and that's why we have a board of people directing the school district, everybody putting their heads together, doing what's best for the district. And I think any of the 11 candidates up here would be fine representatives. That being said, and thank the audience for being here. Your time is very much appreciated. Back in 2006, my family made the decision to move into the Parkway District because of the reputation of the district for educational excellence. We felt that our existing district at the time was failing our two boys, and that greatly turned around when we got into this district. I would like to give back to that district that did so much for my boys and is currently doing so much for my daughter. I cannot promise the world, but I can tell you I am one person that is willing to work with the board, do whatever it takes to keep Parkway a leading edge school district, to provide top quality education for our children, and I will be a tireless advocate for those children, a good steward of district resources, and an ardent listener to the voters. Try to get anything that I can done on behalf of the voters, along with the rest of the board.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, 3 quick notes. I was wrong. I said Prop S. That was November. Prop P. Yes, I did a workshop last night on it. I'm sorry. Too much, you know, there's enough. Candidates. Do you know how much the state needs people willing to serve? Over 50 seats in the legislature were uncontested. Okay? Don't stop. If you don't get on the school board, don't stop. Don't stop, folks. Got to stay active, got to stay involved. This is what's at stake, right? Okay, let's give these candidates a round of applause. This is tough. And most importantly, on April 4th, what are you going to do? Yes, thank you all. Good night.